Did you just click the thing twice, like before we started?
You can't prove that.
People are going to wind up seeing the stream, so of course they're going to see it come up twice, like before.
You're going to show me how to edit it out is what's going to happen.
I'm not now. Absolutely not going to now. All right, what's going on, y'all? It's Thursday night, and we're back here. Chris Allen, Adam Wilde here to discuss some Dynasty mailbag questions. And I think tonight we'll probably try and keep it relatively short, even though whenever Adam and I get to talking, it winds up going for 35, 45 minutes anyway. But regardless, we do have at least one question to go through tonight, and then we'll kind of see where the conversation takes us after that. So with that, I guess first things first, though, I mean, if you have questions for us, go to DLF's website. They have a contact us link that you'll see scrolling down here at the bottom. Go ahead and check that out. Drop us a line, ask us whatever questions that you want, whether it be about trade questions, ADP questions, strategy questions, rankings questions. We can at least, while we don't do rankings personally, we can at least kind of walk you through our process for how we're interpreting either the rankings on DLF's site. We can take it anywhere you want to go. So for the very least, if you're interested in our opinion or at least a process in order to come up with an answer to your question, just come on and hit us up. Or as always, you can find us on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX, at AP Wilde, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and dive into it, Adam. What we got for tonight?
Yeah, so I figured that we were going to go so broad with this question. We'll just keep it to one. And it's interesting, an interesting trade proposition. Dalvin Cook or Trevor Lawrence in Dynasty SuperFlex.
Yeah.
You see here we have the 101. You can go ahead and share it. I'll walk us through it. We have the 101 only because we're assuming that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the 101, and we don't have Devy players. It's quote-unquote Devy for now incorporated in the trade analyzer yet. So You see it's pretty much a toss-up here. So you and I both said that we'd take Trevor Lawrence pretty easily, right?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm sitting at least from a knee-jerk reaction standpoint. And I come at this from two different directions. One, because I'm biased more or less because looking at or thinking about what Trevor Lawrence offers as a prospect. So we know that he is an accurate quarterback, can create out a structure. I mean, the box score scouts and the box score stats speak for themselves. Plus, he offers that Konami code upside that we look for in quarterbacks every single season. But also coming at it from the opposite direction, looking at Dalvin Cook's value moving forward. What is he, 25 and some change? I don't know if he's going to be 26 by the time that the season starts or by the time that the season's over. But if we're thinking about Dalvin Cook's value moving forward, I mean, you want to try and if we're looking at players' value, especially running backs, because we know that when it comes to age, they wind up hitting that cliff unless they're Frank Gore. I mean, their value is going to continue to descend as the seasons continue to pile up for him. Whereas for Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's just taking off at this point. So from that perspective, I would want to try and invest or at least try and move my value from Dalvin Cook over to Trevor Lawrence as soon as I possibly could. But it's hard. I mean, you can elaborate on it further. It's hard to replace an asset like Dalvin Cook at the running back position.
Yeah, but the thing about running backs is we think we're afraid of the age cliff, but it's really not the age cliff we're afraid of. It's the second contract cliff that we're afraid of. And I've had to battle with that with my own process a lot because am I really afraid of age or am I afraid of touches? Am I afraid of second contract? Because you see these players going into the second contract. Let's say Melvin Gordon, not taking the whole backfield. Le'Veon Bell, not taking the whole backfield. Leonard Fournette, not taking the whole backfield. None of these running backs are hitting that second contract with a new team and taking over backfields. Actually, none that I can think of right now, which look at Aaron Jones, probably going to go to another team, probably going to continue to share the backfield. Fortunately for him, he's been getting it done for us in fantasy without having the bell cow touches. But that's just another example of a back that's probably going to leave and probably not going to get the lion's share of touches.
Yeah.
So we've got a unique situation here where we have Mixon, we have Dalvin, we have Christian McCaffrey, and I'm missing a few that have gotten their second contracts already. So that's good. But we're not used to that. So it's really tough to value these running backs going into their second contracts. Do I or Zeke, That's the one I was missing.
Yeah.
Do I stick by them because they're fantastic? They've got bell cow roles and they're sticking with that team for 3 more years. Derrick Henry's another one. Or am I afraid of the age? Well, we're getting basically a case study right in front of our eyes right now with these backs that all suddenly got their second contract. Is that because they settled for maybe a little less after seeing how it went for Melvin Gordon or Le'Veon Bell?
Right.
Maybe did teams learn that they don't want to deal with Le'Veon Bell and Melvin Gordon situations, so pay a little bit more? Maybe I think that the market has probably been fair since then. Le'Veon Bell wanted to increase the market by a lot. I think he just made the market a little more fair for both sides, which is fine. But that being said, maybe we don't need to be afraid of Dalvin because he is going to be with the Vikings a little bit longer, you know? So maybe it's not the age cliff we're worried about. Maybe it's worrying about that second contract. That being said, I started the show before we got started by saying something really dumb. Well, if you could spare Dalvin, I could definitely do that trade. Well, you're never going to be able to spare Dalvin because he's probably part of your championship run if you're making one. And likely you have a quarterback, a second quarterback that's going to contribute. It's not like you're running one quarterback in a super flex, or obviously not 2 QB. So you're probably not really upgrading. You might be upgrading your quarterback position, but you're not putting points where they weren't going to be.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm getting at. So it seems easy, but without seeing rosters, it's actually kind of a difficult trade, which is why I wanted to talk about it in length, because it's not actually that easy. Because if you need Dalvin, like we're saying, most people probably need Dalvin. It would be one thing if you were trading for like something we can bring up in a second, like DK Metcalf. Okay, probably going to get similar points out of them. Maybe you've got like a point per touch thing, so it's a little bit less points, but you've got age on your side by getting DK Metcalf. You don't have to worry about the running back contract thing, none of that. But going to quarterback is unique and weird, and you're already going to have a quarterback. So it's like quarterbacks are on their own island, that 2 spot at the top. When usually you're in a league where you're playing super flex, you have to start 2 quarterbacks basically if you want to be competitive. But then you can start whatever else. Like I'm in a lot of leagues that are 1 to 7 for running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So it's nice to be able to swap and almost get similar amount of points, like trading Dalvin Cook for DK. But you've got those quarterbacks up there on the island on their own. You were already going to have points with, like I said, Teddy Bridgewater, Jimmy Garoppolo, something like that. So it's not as easy. But my point that I want to make towards the Trevor Lawrence side, though, is that he's going to have name value for years. Like if he falters, it's not going to matter. When you can actually factor how people feel about players into your evaluation of them. And I do. My rankings and my tiers that I keep for myself are more indicative of how other people feel about players than how I feel about players. So if Trevor Lawrence fails in year 1, you're still going to hold the value. If Dalvin Cook has even a down 4 weeks, people are going to be ready to throw him out because of quote unquote age. Like I said, I think it's more carries than contract, but because of quote unquote age, he doesn't have a long leash. Trevor Lawrence has the longest leash on the planet. I mean, people have been excited about this dude since he was in high school. You've got campus to Canton people that have had him for years.
Yeah.
So if he fails, he's going to have the longest leash in the world. And if you ever have to get out from him, you could almost definitely trade Trevor Lawrence and get plus on top of Dalvin back if you wanted to.
I think so. And I wanted to kind of tease out a point that you were making earlier about the second contract stigma, and just to take this season's free agent class as something of a proxy. I had pulled up this is over on SpoTrack, which is at least one of those sites that you can kind of take a look at. But when it comes to contracts, I mean, look at these names like right here for what this free agency class is going to look like just at the running back position. And just off the top of my head, I mean, scrolling down through these names, I can only see maybe 2 or 3 names of guys that were able to, one, secure the bag and then on their second contract, but then also wind up with, let's say, the majority of the team's touches that they wound up with. I mean, we see Kenyon Drake up at the top, and then also Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, no. Tevin Coleman, he was hurt. James White, no. Mike Davis, yes. I mean, so there's 3 right there.
But due to injury, he wouldn't have any touches.
Exactly, but that was just due to injury. But I mean, if you scroll down through this list, I'm not seeing like bell cows. I'm not seeing guys that are going to wind up, I mean, taking over their respective backfields. So even with, I mean, so Aaron Jones is probably one of the hottest names out there, like in terms of free agency that could be moved like from the Packers this offseason. And there was a tweet that I saw. I forget the gentleman that had put it out, so I can't properly credit the report. But I think there were 4 teams, I think, that were associated, at least that were reported to be interested in Aaron Jones. And I'm just using his name as he's probably the best case scenario for a guy looking for his next contract. And it was the Dolphins, the Steelers, I think it was the Dolphins, Steelers, 49ers, and I can't remember the 4th team. But in at least 3 out of those 4 cases, I mean, 49ers, Steelers, and Dolphins, I mean, we're already talking about shared backfields right off the rip. 49ers are already flush with running backs. Miami, we just saw Sevon Ahmed, Myles Gaskin. I mean, they were coming out of the woodwork. Steelers as well. They had a couple of guys in rotation. If James Conner, even if it's just James Conner that walks this offseason. So at the very least, we're already talking about a split backfield for one of the better guys or better names that's out there in the free agency market. So for Dalvin Cook, I mean, it's hard for me to see a path for him to at least accrue value versus where for Trevor Lawrence, as you and I both can agree that it's going to be, I mean, just nothing but ascension for him at this point. I mean, you can debate, I guess his current situation, I guess, with the coaches and all that, how he's going to fit and like gel with Urban Meyer and like so on and so forth. But regardless, I mean, it's hard for me to see, I guess, a scenario where his value, Lawrence's value, winds up plummeting way past Cook's and changing, I guess, the dynamic of that particular trade.
Right, you might be a little bit ahead of the game here if you make this trade, but the problem is, as you're seeing with so many players, like look at Josh Allen. If you miss the bus, you're not catching it, and that's the type of thing. It's like, do I want to make the? I'm going to feel a little uneasy right now. Well, sometimes you just have to feel uneasy in your trades because you're going to feel a little uneasy, but you're also going to get Trevor Lawrence, and almost definitely his value is going to increase. I mean, as soon as he throws a football in the NFL, his value is going to increase. You mentioned Tevin Coleman for a second earlier, and that reminded me of a strategy that I've followed since I've played Dynasty. Running backs going into free agency for some reason tend to get a little bit of a boost. I haven't checked to see if the ADP reflects this, but at least in my leagues it has. Running backs people tend to say the grass is always greener on the other side. And I will caveat that it tends to be running backs that weren't bell cows, like Tevin Coleman, that are moving to be quote-unquote bell cows. Same thing with Jerick McKinnon. I fought that army that whole offseason.
Yeah.
Is because I just never see running backs. I don't see that the grass is greener on the other side. I don't see them go to better situations. I see running backs can go to decent situations. Leonard Fournette went to a good situation. He was never going to get the 300 touches that he had in Jacksonville.
Oh, you mean like when Matt Breida went from the 49ers to the Dolphins?
Right. Yeah, exactly how that worked out.
Yeah.
So, and Matt Breida would have been he had the clear shot, and I think he's good, which goes to my point. It really doesn't matter that you're good. It's just when you hit the second team, I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I will trade my running backs that are going to new teams because I think that people value them a little higher. And if you're going to give me a little value bump, and I don't even have to see if they do well or not. I mean, if they do well, I got value. So, it's not like you have to, I'm not advocating for selling short. You actually get a little bit of a bump because, oh, wait, this guy's going into free agency. That can be cool. Well, yeah, maybe it could be cool, but since I've been playing, it hasn't been cool very often. And I'd rather just get out from under it.
So you mean to tell me that David Johnson going over to the Texans was a bad trade?
Well, see, that was a trade, so you didn't really have time to
really react or anything like that.
The bump comes from, oh man, Aaron Jones is going to go to San Francisco.
Yeah,
right? That's where the bump comes from.
Straight to the moon. I mean, his value. I mean, if that winds up happening again, that's the best case scenario. I mean, that would be the time to get out from under him.
But that's the thing; it doesn't even need to happen. Like get out from under him right now. Let's say you get $10 extra on your value because he might go to the 49ers, right? You get $12 value extra if he does go to the 49ers. Just give me the $10, and he's probably not going to go to the 49ers. You see what I'm saying? So that's my thing.
It's like double counting, essentially. Yeah. I mean, we already think that his value is going to bump in free agency. So just the hype surrounding him possibly going to the best or winding up in the best case scenario, it's like, all right, fine. I mean, I'll just go ahead and get rid of him now.
Right. And then if he does, maybe you look a little silly, but you got the $10 extra on his value before he was a free agent. So,
right.
You know what I mean? So, and Aaron Jones is also unique in that he's already been producing without being the bell cow.
Right.
He's been good for chunk yardage. He's been pretty good after contact.
Good the passing game. And assuming that they also, I mean, even if they don't upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, that's still, I mean, at the very least, I think it's a neutral move or a lateral move for Jones. I mean, because he'd be in at least a decent situation, even if he isn't tied to one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
And the 49ers, they look jumbled and like a jumbled mess in the backfield, but they're really not putting a lot of money into that backfield. The only person making like a reasonable amount is Jerick McKinnon, oddly enough, and that's just because he was supposed to be their guy and tore up his leg pretty badly. So
he will be the guy. I swear he's going to be the guy. One of these years it's going to happen. I swear.
I was excited for him. The reason I had to hate him so much is because people were valuing him so high. But when he was like ADP 293, I'm all about it for 49ers.
I still believed, man, and it was gonna happen, but whatever, man.
We got him in cash a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah, we did. I mean, there was I think it was like towards the middle of the season, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around like the week 8 to 10 range or somewhere in there. I thought we got some pretty good value out of him.
For some reason, I always get a sweet spot in my heart for people I play in cash. So you earned me. Earned family dinner. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the point, though. I mean, I still think that on part of the, I guess, one thing that we tend to, I guess, neglect or not really consider is that we look at opportunity from a seasonal standpoint. Mm-hmm. Like if Aaron Jones moves over to the 49ers, it's just, value to the moon. He's going to be the guy and whatever. But then we don't think about the week-to-week volatility of, I mean, are we going to wind up seeing the same thing happen to Aaron Jones that what happened in Green Bay, where he gets subbed out for Jeffrey Wilson, from within the 10, just like he got Jamal Williams came in for him in Green Bay. And we're going to be sitting there in week 4 feeling like we're holding the bag after trading for somebody like Aaron Jones. So it's just it's a hard proposition when it comes to the running back position to think about his seasonal value versus what's going to happen once we start being asked or being required to set lineups on a week-to-week basis.
Right, and I just laugh because it's just like, how often does Aaron Jones break off a 70-yard run and then like have to come out because he's tired?
And then it's going to be like Kyle Juszczyk for a 16-yard receiving touchdown.
Or even worse, he's just going to throw it out to him in the flat.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to wind up being, and he's going to wind up getting the touchdown. It's like,
Aaron Jones is going to be on the oxygen. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Why didn't you not give me those 7 points so that you could? I mean, I guess it's the same thing as a touchdown.
I would just rather the touchdown.
Yeah, it feels better, right?
It does. That's the psychological aspect of it. Like I would rather like 1 yard in a touchdown versus a 60-yard run and then him just not getting the touchdown. Like I want the touchdown, daggone it.
So what we wanted to discuss was, all right, well, if we're going to say that we'll take the Trevor Lawrence side here, who would you target with Trevor Lawrence?
What do you mean, who would I target with Trevor Lawrence? I mean, like in order to trade?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in order to get back? If I was going to move the 101, I mean, instead of looking at somebody like Dalvin Cook, and you and I were talking about it earlier, I'd be looking at one of the like second-year running backs, like second-year running back plus. So give me a Dobbins plus, Swift plus, Akers plus, and I would start the conversation around one of those guys, and then kind of work back from there. I mean, I don't think you'd probably wind up with like Akers in a first or anything like that, but at least Akers and I don't know, mid to late second, somewhere in there.
If you don't mind pulling that up, if you still have the trade analyzer, Akers in a first, let's call it the 106, because that's actually kind of interesting. That's if I'm not getting JT, And that's probably it. Because if I'm getting CEH, I want extra. If I'm not getting JT, maybe straight up, I probably need a little bit more on JT, to be honest. But if I'm not getting JT and a little extra, I'd rather go down to like Cam Akers in a first.
Let's see. So, oh, you want Akers in a first? Or Akers, rather?
Yeah, let's look at Akers in a first because that's what I'd be if I was going to do a running back, which I probably wouldn't. But I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not going to.
I mean, just to talk about the, I guess trying to do a 1-to-1 comparison, or at least a 1-to-1,
right.
Yeah, comparison or positional comparison.
The 106, 107, probably.
Yeah, probably like the 107 or something in there. That get you close.
Yeah, I would think I'd consider, especially since the 107 range, you're looking at another quarterback.
Yeah, so mid first. Okay.
So you're trading back and getting. Yeah, I mean that's a good place to start. I'd rather do that than Dalvin, is what I'm getting at, because Cam Akers looked like he was going to come on as a bell cow there at the end, but I think he showed just a little too little for people to send him to the moon already, which is good, because people are going to say, well, he did get a little injured when he got that bell cow role, and then he didn't really get to show that he was going to be, a true nightmare for opposing defenses, which I think he will be. So that's a good target right there, because say you might get Trask or something like that at the 107. Or
yeah, you could. Or if you want to, I guess, if you want to look at a quarterback, I mean, where do you think somebody like Wilson or like Mac Jones is going to wind up falling?
If people keep talking about Wilson going so high in this draft, I mean,
he's going to wind up being. I think he might wind up being overvalued, at least when it comes to rookie drafts. But I'm trying to temper my expectations for how the market is going to value him.
But these quarterbacks are getting pushed up and up and up. So I mean,
yeah,
107, you're almost definitely. And if people want to go something crazy like 5 quarterbacks, well, then you're getting like Etienne or Najee Harris at the 107 or something like that, or Jamar Chase. Maybe Devonta Smith. I think I'm going to move him down a little bit, but but the point is, you're going to get someone great at 107, and it really might be a quarterback. So if you're trading down, Trevor Lawrence is phenomenal, but trade back, still get your quarterback, and add Cam Akers. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we got a couple more. We got a couple of comments or questions here in the chat. So let's see if we can knock out a couple of those. This is from Ryan Burris. So you got Watson and Brady as starters. Do I go QB with a 108 pick or try and move Brady in a 108 for one? Also have Jacob Eason, Mariota, PJ Walker like on the bench.
Okay, so I would go the second route first and see if anyone's valuing Brady at all, because I think that's going to be league dependent. I could see some leagues not valuing him at all. I can see some leagues saying if he says he wants to go to 45, that's 2 more years, right? So
yeah, I know you've at least got him for 1 more season. I mean, with the way that the team is set up, I think they can run it back with, let's say, most of their squad without too much cap squeezing. So I think like both on offense and defense. So I don't think they'll have to sacrifice much. So you at least got 1 good year of production out of Brady.
So you have to think about if your league feels that way, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably it might be a reach, but I would think that most people looking at Tom Brady, especially like at this point in the offseason, like we're only like a week removed or so, like from the Super Bowl, that they would want, if they're going to take on that like an asset like Tom Brady at this point, what you're getting. Like that expectation is set. The timeline for how soon that value is going to plummet to 0. So if you want to cash or try and like strike while the iron's hot, then okay, fine. But but that's not something that you want to do. Then it's really, I don't think there's really any like middle ground when it comes to somebody like him.
That's the problem. I don't see him moving often because I don't think I'd be comfortable sending more than like the 208. And if you have him, why would you move him for the 208? Unless if your team's bad / rebuilding, you could move him for the 208 and feel okay about it. But the point of the matter is you just have to see. I think that Brady's value is going to be something that's league dependent just based on he looked unstoppable in the playoffs. So if someone in your league feels like, oh my goodness, Brady's at least going 2 more years, he might go to 46, then you can add him on. But some people might not think he's valued at all. So that's what I'm getting at. You might remove just the 108. The problem with taking one of these guys at the 108 that's not Fields or Lawrence is I don't know for certain. I'm not saying that these guys don't have the talent, behind Fields and Lawrence. It's a very good quarterback class, but I'm not certain that we have any day one starters outside of Fields and Lawrence.
Yeah.
So I'm not certain that you're going to fill your quarterback situation with the 108, but you have Brady. So caveat that with you have Brady. So all you really need is to hit on that quarterback after the first year. Pull a Patrick Mahomes, start second year, good. You're good. It's tricky though because one, Brady gets injured, you got problems. Two, if Brady doesn't play another year and your guy becomes Jordan Love, okay, well, that sucks for you too. You can always figure it out elsewhere, but I think that I probably roll the dice and I draft a quarterback at 108 and keep Brady.
I think that makes sense, at least for those other guys. I mean, Jacob Eason, I don't think I'm honestly thinking that he's droppable at this point.
Yeah, well, I would wait just to make sure, but once the starters are
definitely leaning that way, because if there wasn't even a hint of him getting the starter position, like after Rivers retired, and there's already offers being floated out, like for Carson Wentz to come to Indianapolis, it's like, I mean,
the only news that came out was Eason saying he is ready if they call on him. So I don't think that's news, but
yeah, that's more of a like, don't call us, we'll call you type of thing, like from the Colts. So it's probably not all that great of a situation. He might be another one of those bench guys. Like I'd rather hold on to PJ Walker and Mariota than Jacob Eason.
I think Mariota's name's getting floated around a lot. But let me caveat something really quick because I do not draft for need. Period. I just don't. But it just so happens I'm probably taking a quarterback at the 108. So I just wanted to let you know, Ryan, I'm not telling you you have to take a quarterback at 108. If someone better falls there, take the better player and then figure it out later. I'm just saying it's almost definitely going to be a run of like 2 or 3 quarterbacks between 6 and 8.
Yeah. I mean, could you start, I guess, since we're talking about Tom Brady in general, like what his value is, I mean, would it make some sense to at least get a baseline, like on how the market feels? I mean, you could probably check, I don't know if like startup ADP would really be the best way to look at it, but at least starting to get a gauge on like, what would people move for him at this point? So if I had to guess, like he at minimum, the trade analyzer would probably put him in like a mid to late second. That would be my guess.
Well, Brady's the type of player where I just go to my league chat and say first person that sends me a second for Brady gets him.
Yeah.
So that's what I would probably do if I were trying to move Brady.
Mm-hmm. If you want to package him with like what he was saying, like move Brady and the 108 to see if he can move up to get like Fields. I don't know if you'd get there to that point. Yeah, but I mean that's more of a league specific thing. Just try and get a sense of like what Brady's value is, like on from a standalone perception, and then from there see like where you can reasonably move, because I don't think you can move 6 spots like from the 108.
No, Brady would be someone good. Like if you're at 8 and there's 6 and Wilson goes to like, I'll just throw out a team that needs a quarterback like Washington. Yeah. Say Wilson goes to Washington and you've got like Trask back there and he's not starting year 1 and Mac is already gone. Maybe you could throw Brady in to get from the 108 to the 106 to get I think is probably a better quarterback at 106 instead of waiting with your quarterback at 108. That'd be a strategy too.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good way to look at it versus trying to shoot for the moon, like with or at least set high expectations for the 108, or trying to move from the 108 to get one of the top 2, at least trying to fit in like somewhere in the, let's say at best moving up to the 105, I think would probably be about like as high as you could probably get.
Well, yeah. So what you do when you have something like I've been in positions where I've had a player that I want to package with my pick, I start sending offers as the draft's going. So like to the 103, instant decline, fine. Send it 104, decline, 5, 6, all the way until it's you. And that's just, if you have an extra player that you want to get rid of that you feel like has value, you just the whole draft just send it down the line. And I did that. I really wanted to trade Stephon Diggs for Cam Akers, and I started sending Stephon Diggs by the 107 last year and got all the way to the 112 and no one took him.
That's still wild to me.
I'm so glad no one did.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's only thanks to Cam Akers' late season form, it's not that big of a difference. But for a while there, it was like,
oh yeah, after 75% of the season, I mean, you would have thought you were left holding the bag.
Yeah, 75% of the season, I would have been really, really mad that I took Stephon Diggs. All right, let's pull this next question up.
Cool.
Do you like moving D-Hop for depth? Can get Sutton in the 111 and might be able to get A-Rob in the 107. 14-team SuperFlex site and premium. Second best wide receiver is Cooks. Yes, to both of them for me.
My personal bias would land me on A-Rob in the 107.
Oh, yes, because it's a better pick and a better pick and probably a better player.
Really, are we going to fight over Courtland Sutton versus Allen Robinson? What we're going to do?
I don't know where A-Rob's going to go, so it's.
I don't care. He's a better player.
Oh, you mean okay? I mean, yeah, in the NFL, he's probably A-Rob, but I'm just saying, both have a lot of uncertainty around him. For one, Sutton's not gonna. I don't know that Drew Lock's gonna be long for Denver, and he's also got some really good competition in Fant, Hamler, and Judy. So that's just going to be tough. But he did come on strong before his injury. I just haven't seen him on the field with Judy. But the fact that the 107 and A-Rob, and I'd probably rather A-Rob than Sutton, even not knowing where he's going to go, because I know that someone's going to have to pay them a lot of money, and Sutton's on a rookie deal, so they don't really have to use them, is – yeah, go get the A-Rob in the 107 for sure for D-Hop. D-Hop's going to be a target hog for probably 2 more years, and you're going to feel a little uneasy for a while, but you're not seeding that many targets with A-Rob.
No, I don't think so. Excuse me. I don't think at that point. And we can you could debate quarterback situation between the two all day long. So I think it really comes down to kind of comparing your pre-draft evaluation for Courtland Sutton and seeing how that's translated to how he's been in the NFL for the past couple of years, and see where do you stand on him? Do you think he's going to come back and still be he's going to earn that majority target share in that offense, or do you think that now it's just going to be spread out between he's just going to be another part of that offense between him, Judy, Fant, Hamler if he takes a step forward or whatever?
That's going to be tough. I don't think that offense is going to be predicated on one player like Sutton really needed to be. And I think he's a good buy low. I think you could get him for cheaper than he's worth, but I just don't think he's going to earn enough targets. For one, I think Judy played a lot of the year injured, and I think he can be incredible. I'm a big Jared Judy fan. I think that he can be way, way better than he showed in year one. And I think he's got to get better quarterback play, right? I mean, oh, man.
You'd hope. But again, I think to your point, though, I think that the quarterback situations for both of them are similar enough that we can essentially remove that from the equation in evaluating their fantasy situations.
I disagree on that, and I forgot to mention it, but let's just play the psychological game for a second. A-Rob has caught passes from Mitch Trubisky. He's caught passes from Blake Bortles. He's entering free agency. He's going to get paid the most money of his career. I really, really, really do not think that he's going to pick a bad quarterback. I'm telling you right now.
Hope not. Well, unless he just wants the bag and that's it. But I don't think that that's really the case for him at this point in his career.
No, I mean, he was tweeting during the Super Bowl how bad he wants one. And sure, every player was tweeting that, but it fits my narrative, so I'm using it. So I think there's no – and here's the thing. You don't get worse than Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky. You don't get worse than Blake Bortles, so it doesn't matter who he picks. You're probably not odds are he's going to get a better quarterback situation, which means he's going to be in for another 100, 110 targets, which means he's going to be the highest paid player on the offense outside of quarterback probably. So these are assumptions that are actually safe to make. Usually you don't want to assume, but I'm assuming that Sutton's quarterback situation is going to be bad at least one more year. And I'm assuming that there's 3 other weapons in that offense, including Melvin Gordon, 4, that are going to earn, like Peter Howard says, earn many targets. But, it's not that Sutton can't earn targets too, but these are just other good players that are also going to earn many targets. So I'm hypothesizing that A-Rob is going to pick a good team with a good quarterback and a lot of targets.
We'll see. I agree with that, but I guess we'll see how the money and all that shakes out in order for that to happen. But as we were talking about earlier with the what was the situation we were talking about? Shoot, now I completely forgot. Oh, when we were talking about with Aaron Jones, like where we know the player is good, so before we try and do this whole free agency thing, like we don't want to try and, I guess, essentially double count and assume that he's going to wind up in a better QB situation and then boost his value past what it should be. We just know that Allen Robinson's a good player.
Yes, that's a very fair point, but the only reason I'm comfortable making that assumption while I'm not with Aaron Jones or any of them is just that he's literally got bottom 3 quarterback situation.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's the reason that assumption's fair, is just because odds are he's got a 29 and 32 chance to improve his quarterback situation.
You think? I mean, at least I hope that's the case. But I think in looking at that, I think either one of those two paths for Zach, I think are legit. I mean, whichever way that you go about looking at it, I mean, you can look at Sutton, who still has three more years on his rookie contract.
Yes, because he was a first rounder, so he'll have 5 years.
Yeah, so you've got 3 more years for Sutton to figure it out. So probably at least, let's say, 1 with Drew Lock and then 2 with TBD. And then Allen Robinson, assuming he moves from Chicago, then, I mean, we can at least hypothesize that his quarterback situation is going to improve. So either way you look at it, I mean, those guys can wind up in better situations than what they are now. One can at least be healthy on the field.
And the 107's going to be phenomenal because Wilson's already getting pushed up to like the 103, 104. That's NFL people doing that too, which actually I kind of prefer over Dynasty community double, triple counting to get a quarterback there.
Right.
NFL people are just mocking him so high that he's getting drafted higher. So that's going to take one of your top 4. So the 107 puts you in position to get one of the top 4 skill players. And my opinion is that the top 4 skill players are pretty much interchangeable depending on landing spot. Like, I'm just as comfortable having Jamar Chase as my 101 and 1 QB as I am Travis Etienne, depending on landing spot. So the point is, if 3 quarterbacks go in the top 7, you're going to get one of Jamar Chase, Etienne, Najee Harris, or I see a lot of people moving Devontae Smith down, yet I think I still have him in the top 4. So yeah, you're getting an elite player at the 107 in SuperFlex.
Agreed.
So an elite player and Allen Robinson, who is going to get similar target. I mean, he's going to get maybe 15, 20 less than D-Hop, but that's because D-Hop's going to be second in the league in targets behind Diggs or something like that.
Right. So I think at the very least, in terms of usable years, you already know what you're getting in terms of like that rookie pick, but we've got probably at least 3 years, 4 years out of Allen Robinson, at least.
Right.
So yeah, either way, I think it's a solid move in order to for that particular trade. So, All right. Well, that's it for tonight. I think we've rambled on long enough. I mean, we appreciate everybody stopping by and dropping some of their questions, trade talk, strategy talk. I mean, that's what Adam and I like to do on a weekly basis. So, I mean, with that, I mean, please, if you enjoy the content that we're putting out here, not just the mailbag show, but the other folks like doing work here for DLF on our YouTube channel. So Addison Hayes, I know that him and his crew, they were just on a show right before us. Anything else that the folks here at Dynasty League Football are doing, I mean, if you enjoy this content, drop us a like, drop us a comment like on this YouTube video. Send us your questions. Hit us up on DLF through the contact link that we showed at the earlier part of the show. Drop us hit us up, shoot us a DM, shoot us a tweet on Twitter. You got our handles right below us. But with that, I'm Chris Allen. That's Adam Wilding. We'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.